Hello again. In the last section, we went through all the steps for defining the arc cosine, and we realized that its range went from 0 to pi. And the rest of these I said you could look up on your own, but I would give you the ranges for them. Now these ranges will be important for this section, or this part of 20.6, because we'll need to use them to figure out what the values of these inverse functions are for different numbers. Now, what you're going to want to make sure you have handy during this segment, I guess I'll call it, is your unit circle. So maybe pause the video and get this unit circle out that you should have from class. If you don't have it for whatever reason and you want to take a picture of mine, you can do that. You can easily find these online as well. If just search unit circle, you can print out another one. Okay. For the first part here, we want to find what the value of arc cosine is at 1/2. Another way to look at this really is to ask yourself, what angle has a cosine value equal to 1/2? So you could rewrite the problem like this. If you let that equal theta, what we're looking for is, where is cosine of theta equal 1/2? But specifically, it needs to be in the range that you're given for the arc cosine, okay? So we're going to answer this within 0 to pi, that interval, okay? So within 0 to pi. So now you look on your unit circle. Between 0 and pi, that's the whole top of the unit circle. Where is cosine 1/2? Remember, that means you look for where the x coordinate is 1/2. You see that happening right here? So the value is pi over 3. Okay, so the answer to this is pi over 3. Now, you can check that answer. So with your calculator, if you have your calculator follow along and pull this out, you can type in arc cosine of 1/2. Whoops, not 1/5, 1/2. And if you're in radian mode, which I am, we get a decimal. And just check, is that decimal equal to pi over 3? Right? It should be if we did this right. Cha-ching! All right, there it is. So you can always check these, which is nice. Let's look at the next one. So arc sine of square root 2 over 2. So sine has to equal square root 2 over 2. Give you a second to think about that while I let the dog in, if you can hear her barking. I'll be right back, 1 second. Alright, so where is sine square root 2 over 2? If you looked on the unit circle, you would figure out that that happens at pi over 4, which is a valid answer, because for this one we're going to answer within negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, which is a little bit trickier, I must say. That's actually why I drew this out. So if you look, focus your attention for a minute over here. This is where negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 is, really. It's in the first quadrant or fourth quadrant. Negative angles, though, you'd have to answer with a negative angle down here. When we look at this example, you'll really see what I'm talking about. Here we want to figure out where sine is equal to negative square root 3 over 2. But it has to be within that negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 range. So look at your unit circle. Where is sine negative square root 3 over 2? Well, it happens here at 5 pi over 3, right? But we don't want to give an answer of 5 pi over 3. We want to give the answer as negative pi over 3 instead, which is a coterminal angle with 5 pi over 3. Okay, so negative pi over 3 is how we're going to answer this. So basically, whenever you're answering an arc sine question, you're going to always look in either the first or the fourth quadrant. If it's in the fourth quadrant, though, you're going to answer with these negative angles. Okay, and you just line them up with the angles that you see on the actual unit circle. So we get, we said negative pi over 3 as a result here. All right, arctangent. We want to figure out where tangent is equal to negative square root 3. Now look at the range for tangent. Oh, it's negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 again. This time not including the endpoints. So it's this same scenario. These are our options for answering these if we're going to answer with an exact value. Let's look on the unit circle then, in either the first or the fourth quadrant. Where is tangent negative square root 3? There it is. That happens at, 5 pi over 3 again. But we're not going to answer with 5 pi over 3. We're going to look and see over here. That's actually going to be negative pi over 3. All right? And then the last one that we're going to do here, we have arc secant of negative 2. We're going to try to solve where is secant equal to negative 2. That means that cosine would have to equal what? The reciprocal, right? Negative 1/2. Within what though, right? Okay, within what? Well, we look at over here. We're actually answering an arc secant question. So look at arc secant. We have to give an answer between 0 and pi, not including pi over 2. So that means we're looking from 0 to pi, right? First or second quadrants. Where is cosine negative 1/2? Right here. So the answer is going to be 2 pi over 3. Right? All right, in the next segment we'll do kind of similar problems that step it up a little bit, make them a little bit harder. All right, see you in a minute.